everybody, welcome back to another video. So, the August 2023 balance update. It's been a couple of days since the balance update has kicked off in the main playing server. So, 2 months ago, there was a huge big balance update. As you can see here, 2 whole months have passed since the big balance update. And I made a video about that, and I predicted that the buffs that we see in the big balance update, which happened to about 120 legendary heroes, I predicted that we shouldn't get too complacent because the nerfs were about to come, and that whole buffing kind of thing was just to get people to relax, pool their resources, max some heroes, and eventually the nerfs will start coming in one by one. And what do you know? I was right. 2 months after that, they are tuning down one hero and one ether power, both of which, by the way, was already kind of like predicted when SG first released the balance changes about a month before the big balance update happened. There was this whole bunch of nerfs that was happening to a lot of heroes. Jove was one of them, and the ether power also was sort of like teased about being changed. So it looks like for this August 2023 balance update, they have decided to do just that. They have targeted one hero, Jove, and one ether power, and let's see what has changed. So Jove, direct damage reduced from 530% down to 450%. So that is a 80% decrease in initial damage to a single target, which will result in about a 40% decrease to the rest of the enemies. The healing reduction effect has also adjusted. Old, it was negative 65% decrease for any healing received for 3 turns. The new one is 50% decrease for any boosted healing received for 3 turns. So a very significant change, I think, here, because boosted health, if you're only affecting boosted health, you are not affecting the health recovery of a hero. Heroes like Cleopatra or Hetherferis, when they heal, I think it is not affecting the Jove's boosted health healing received decrease ailment does not affect those. So this neutering of Jove I feel does not make him irrelevant. It's a necessary nerf because Jove was terrorizing defenses and offense alike. You'll see a lot of players use Jove on defense, even some having about 4 to 5 copies of Jove. The nerf was coming. I just didn't expect them to actually follow through and nerf him so badly. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Jove is not going to be irrelevant. In fact, he just needs a little bit of help right now to get through some of the buffs, as we will see later on. But I felt that maybe, instead of reducing it immediately to 450%, they should have changed it to about 480%, because I think that makes him still very strong without, taking away a lot of his bite. And I get it. I mean, people are angry about it. People are, telling like, oh, this is such a waste to kind of double limit break. And SG did reply back with a, I think they gave reset tokens for people who are using, who have gotten Jove. And I think it only applies to those who have gotten Jove during the Mask God portal, where Jove was not featured. It took a 0.3% chance for you to get a Jove outside of being featured, and I think they only gave them to those. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Let me know whether if you have gotten Jove in the previous portals, like for example the Solstice summons or the super elemental summons, then do let me know if you got those reset tokens as well. But personally, to me, I mean, Jove is still a very strong hero. I doubt you would just spend your reset tokens just because of this nerf. It's not to say that it's completely irrelevant, like how Telluria was or how Miriam was. So, I still expect to see a lot of Joes on defense. The next one, however, Ether Power Taunt, duration reduced from 4 turns to 3 turns. Affected heroes include the costume version of Black Knight, Kara, Krampus, Ludwig, Forces, Queen Anne, Queen of Hearts, Strawbear, and Thunderclap. Now, 4 turns feels almost like an eternity in terms of Empires and Puzzles gameplay. 3 turns feels manageable. 2 turns is just pretty shit. So I think that if you reduce it to 3 turns, it's going to. I mean, people were already using, Ludwig's and Forces and to some extent Queen Anne and some of these Kara, Krampus, and Black Knight iterations on defense. And you'll see that is because Aether Power, having that 4-turn Aether Power Taunt gives them a little bit more sustain, gives your defense a little bit more sustain, and you could kind of like, the defenses can last long enough for you to maybe fire up those taunts or be kind of a menace. And because of that, I think what SG has said here is that, this Aether Power Taunt has proven to be excessively powerful in the current state of the game, and therefore we are neutering them. But I think this is a huge mistake because think about it, like the only reason why you have some form of variation in taunts, especially in different tiers of play, is because the Ether Taunt of 4 turns feels like an eternity, and therefore you can use some viable, options. If you don't have Ludwig, you can kind of use Black Knight, you can kind of use Kara, Krampus, etc., etc. But reducing it to 3 turns, and let me just tell you, 3 turns, it's pretty, 3 turns very short. And for heroes like Ludwig, you might as well don't have the taunt because, Ludwig's not gonna survive the 3 turns anyways. Like, you're not going to be able to cobble up. In fact, it's quite impossible for normal matches to fire up Ludwig in 3 turns. It's not possible unless you get some form of cascade. So reducing that to 3 turns, the only one who benefits from this is fast taunts, and there's only one. It's only Forces, and therefore you see how the meta immediately adapts to this. Is like top tier alliances. What they do is they just remove every single Ether taunt, double limit broken taunts from their defenses except for Forces, and that's not introducing variation into the game. That's just streamlining the meta. And isn't that what we are trying to avoid? Like, can you imagine, like, everyone just uses Forces and you don't have like the variation of using Forces, of using Queen Anne, of using Ludwig on defenses? You don't get that kind of variation. Then what's the point? I think that's really, I think this Ether Power Taunt is a really bad move from SG. And I'm not saying that just because I have Ether Taunts myself. I'm saying it stops a lot of variety in games because, I mean, you think about it, Queen Anne is slow. Having that 4-turn taunt, kind of, you're able to have other heroes on defense kind of help her to survive. But if you reduce it to 3, and as I've mentioned, 3 turns is pretty insignificant, then she's just gonna be a sitting duck. As once the taunt goes off, you can kind of wipe out the rest of her allies first before dealing with her particularly. So yeah, kind of an interesting move, but it's not something that it's completely unexpected. The Ether Power Taunt reduction of turns has been foreshadowed in the nerfs before, so it's been there. So I'm only commenting about it now because it's actually happened, but it's not something that I didn't expect. Like, I fully expect Ether Taunt to get removed, to get reduced at some point. It's just once it happens, what is the ramifications? What's the consequences? You're only going to see forces on defense. You are not going to see any one of these on defense anymore. Probably you'll see a niche, kind of like niche times where you see it, but I think it's not going to be there in general top play. At least that's my prediction. I might be wrong. Maybe things will adapt as we go down this buffs, this month's round of buffs. Maybe you'll see some of this still show up on defenses. And let's look at the buffs. So the buffs here are happening to older heroes. I won't go too much into these these buff increases for some of these heroes. I want to jump straight to the costume bonus. Now this is one thing that really, like, I feel this is again the same issue with the big balance update, and I can see how this can piss some people off. So let's look at it. All Valhalla realms. So previously they have plus 7% attack, plus 7% defense, plus 13% health, and plus 5% mana generation. So the new one, what's going to happen is that they get plus 16% attack, plus 16% defense, plus 28% health, plus 5% mana generation. And that same thing applies to the Underworld family, where they get a significant increase in attack, defense, and health. The same with Challenge Festival 1 families, which include the Pirates of Corellia, Guardians of Teltok, Riddles of Wonderland, Tales of Grim Forest, and Knights of Avalon. You'll get this plus 17% attack, plus 17% defense, 30% health, and 5% mana generation. Now this gripes me a lot because this only affects costume bonuses and only to legendary heroes. So two problems here. One, you're only affecting legendary heroes. Do bear in mind that there are some of these heroes here that are 4 stars, so why not share the love? Why stick it to legendary heroes? We all see people using their alpha eaters on heroes like Waddles, heroes like Double Costume Lizu, Double Costume Cateman. Those heroes deserve those kind of buffs, so why not give a chance to some of these 4 stars that are available in Valhalla, Underworld, and Underworld I don't think there's anyone just yet. But like the challenge festivals, Guardian Jackal has a costume. Why not give him some love for that? The same thing with like Merlin, who has a costume which is completely useless, by the way. And some other heroes like I'm running out of options here, but but you get the point. Essentially, like Tales of Grim Forest, they just released Hansel, and Hansel does not share this new costume bonuses. So that's number one, not giving it to 4 stars. Number two, the fact that it's only applying to costume bonus, which means if you have, for example, one very good example is you have Black Knight and you do not have his costume, your Black Knight does not enjoy these stat bonuses. You would have to pull again to try and get costume Black Knight, and costume Black Knight has not been featured ever since the first time he came out. So are you going to bank on that 0.3% chance to kind of get Black Knight? I'm pretty sure that's the odds. I'm hoping I'm correct with that. But yeah, so why not? Instead of this feels like it feels like you would have to pull the costumes, and you would have to treat the costumes like a new hero, because if you don't get the costumes, you are basically stuck with a hero with primitive stats because of how old is it right now. And only if you get the costumes, like for example, one very good example from the Valhalla realms is Ulfric. So if you have regular Ulfric and you do not have the costume, then you will not enjoy this plus 16% attack, defense, 28% health, and 5% mana generation, which means if you use Ulfric as your rush war tank, as compared to someone who has the costume Ulfric, your defense will be much weaker, because Ulfric does not enjoy those bonuses. If you use costume Ulfric instead, you'll get all these stat bonuses, and let me tell you, 28% health, especially when you're trying to play it risky. I know some players do play it risky by not bringing protection against Ulfric, hashtag please bring protection. You are not going to enjoy those benefits. You're not, the stats are so high that sometimes she might just survive with a sliver of health and completely wreck your team. So And that only happens if you get the costume bonus. The same thing with Black Knight. Now I just want to stop here. Looking at this, I think that's all there is to this article, and let me just bring you to, okay, it's connecting. Let me just bring you to like my roster just to show you what Costume Black Knight is right now. So this is with the health bonus 30%, attack bonus and defense bonus of 17%. Mana bonus is still the same, 2,500 health. Like, can you imagine if you do not have this costume? Okay, I don't think I have anyone in my alliance that does not have the costume. But can you imagine if you do not have the costume, you only have Black Knight here. Yes, he's still a taunt. He's still a very functional taunt. Still a pretty good one. But you get a reduction of 30%. So 30% from this health, minus 30% is roughly about 700, about 7 to 600 health. So he's only at 1,008, and if you compare that to getting the costume, it's freaking 2,500 health. Like what? The inferiority of just having a regular site and not the costume is really debilitating. Like, why not share that? Instead of just giving everything to the costume bonus, why not increase the stats for some of these heroes who are increasingly getting irrelevant because of how fast power creep is in the game. Like, I mean, before this, my highest, let me just deprioritize the team. Before Black Knight was buffed, my highest was Hurricane, and Hurricane was because Hurricane's almost it's almost like the new. And now it's only because I have the costume that Black Knight is here. And imagine if he doesn't have the costume, he'll be somewhere, somewhere at the bottom and still completely irrelevant. So why not give, I felt that that's where SG kind of messes up a little bit. When you're giving buffs, I mean, buffs are fine. They're fun. You can use it to make sure that a hero from these old challenge events kind of remain relevant. But, I think they have to think about their player base when they don't have those costumes, especially when it's so difficult to pull those costumes, to give a little bit of stat buff to the regular heroes, not just pile everything into the costume bonus. And I know from a business standpoint that's not the way things should function, because they would want to gather as much profits as they can and kind of force people to pull as much as they can. But if you're doing something like this, you already know the repercussions, that people will not just, people just don't pull then, because the odds are so low. One, secondly, no one's gonna, after what I predicted, where you buff everyone and then you start nerfing again, who's to say that the moment you pull Black Knight costume, the costume of Black Knight, and after a while, when you think the power is when SG starts to realize that 1,300 defense and 2,500 health is completely overpowered, then they're just gonna nerf it, and then you get the same cycle goes on again, where people just start sending complaints and sending putting up movements and all that to kind of force SG into a bad decision. So I find that really weird. And it's not just that. Can you imagine that now in August, 2 months after the big balance update, they have only decided to hit Jove. They have not hit Aramis. Although, now that I think about it, if you hit Aramis right now, I'm not sure what the repercussions will be. They have not nerfed Hurricane. I believe Hurricane requires a certain level of balancing. They have not nerfed, some of the ones that they were intending to nerf, where Ludwig went from 6 turns of taunt to 5 turns of taunt, where all the abilities are scaled down to 5 turns. They have not done that. They have not nerfed N. They have not nerfed Riz and some of the other heroes as well. I feel like, I predicted that the nerfs will come. The nerfs will come in the end. Like eventually the nerfs will come out. But I didn't expect the nerfs to come trickling down especially when they say that they will do balance changes every month. So that means every month from now, there's going to be a certain fear prospect of where the nerfs are coming, and that will really terrify the player base because come on, I mean, that begs the question. Then there are so many strong heroes that are out right now, so many heroes that are, some players do chase, some players do enjoy playing with, and right now you're still inducing that fear of that hero being nerfed. And now um I used to play a game called Magic the Gathering where cards will be banned. Now I'm not sure if you can relate Magic the Gathering um, to a mobile game like this, where it's not an outright ban. It's just a very huge balancing to the playing quality of the hero. But over there, I got used to cards being banned and decks having to change because of what cards were being banned. But in this case, having to neuter certain heroes, no doubt it has happened in the past. The fact that they keep doing this, some players might not understand that. Some players might be frustrated over that, and you're losing player base at every time. And it begs the question, how long will this last? Especially when the quality of heroes that are coming out, yes, they are strong, but they are not innovative at all. Especially when you look at the costume, the new costumes that are released. Like, I don't know if SG will watch this video or what, but I can tell you upfront that the new costume releases for Hero of the Months, old Hero of the Months, season 4, potentially, and some of season 3 and season 5 and potentially season 5 as well, are going to be complete dog shit. Like, really, seriously, it's going to be complete dog shit. I mean, season 4 costumes are so bad, so badly designed, that it's not even worth pulling for it. Like, the only one that's actually, about to come up is probably Xenolfort, because you're paying for a costume that is essentially the pre-nerf version of the regular side, which is, again, complete dog shit as well. So where is the fun in, where is the joy that players will get when they have to go through all these kind of things? It completely baffles me. uh it's fun when you have to theory craft, different things, to adapt to the nerves, but I feel like SG is just looking at it from a pay to win perspective, and not really from a free to play perspective. Especially when there's I do believe that there are more free to play players. No doubt they don't generate any revenue for the company that's creating Empires and Puzzles, but you know you gotta please both sides somehow. Like, this kind of balancing needs to be able to kind of help both ends of the spectrum. And if you're not doing that, then you're failing as a game, because it tells you that you're not able to balance things out before it gets released. You're not listening to your beta players, you are not listening to people who have experience in this game, and you're just releasing things willy-nilly, and you know having to do drastic changes to it at the end when you've realized your mistake. Like, I'm gonna put it right out. No doubt, I have Hurricane and I have double limit broken him. I fully expect him to be nerfed at some point. If people continue to use Hurricane on defense and he's becoming a menace. Also, I am still waiting for tablets regardless for uh Aramis. Where's Aramis? Yeah, for Aramis, and I fully expect him to get nerfed as well. But still, I do believe that when SG realizes the mistake they've done with Jove, when so many people are complaining, they might, look at Aramis and say, okay, you know what, they should dial back the nerfs by a notch. Especially when you're buffing heroes by giving stat boosts, a lot of stat boosts, because Jove now just hits like a wet noodle. Although he does If you're not careful, if you do not bring overheal, of course he's gonna wreck your team. So that might, that might apply to like the top tier alliances, but not so much on the middle tier or low tier. So that's something that I do believe SG should consider. And with that, I think I'm just going to end this video here. It's okay. I'm on the balance right here. I'm not fully against the nerfs, but I'm not fully for the nerfs as well. I just feel like SG needs to balance things a little bit more and not be too rash with their decisions. And as I've mentioned 2 months ago in my video as well, the big balance update was a very rash decision. It was a radical fix and it wasn't a good one. So we're going to see from August onwards, September, October, November, December, we're going to see a lot of changes happen. I predict that there'll be a lot of changes happening. And if so, I will make a video expressing my thoughts about it. Do let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, or if you think that maybe there is a different opinion that I should be looking at, or any feedback is welcome as well. Personally, for me, the game is still fun. Having those nerfs, I mean, I don't have Jove, so I can't really say much, but I do have 4 Alpha Tons right now, and all 4, I do not have Forces, so I can't, I've decided not to use my Alpha Tons on defense anymore, but I can see how it can affect, and I can see how debilitating it is for some people as well. So yeah, let's see what happens in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. GG.